I first noticed the necklace on the first Tuesday of March. Emily stood by the foyer mirror, adjusting her earrings, the deep gray turtleneck slightly open at the collar, revealing a sliver of pale skin above her collarbone. A silver butterfly pendant rested in the hollow of her throat, its wing edges studded with tiny diamonds that flashed under the floor lamp like silent provocation. Where'd that come from? I pointed at her neck, my whiskey glass casting trembling shadows on the hardwood floor. Emily's hand flew to cover the penenta, movement so frantic it made the back of my neck tense. "Oh," she laughed, turning around, her hair brushing against the golden bottle of Chanel N5, a gift from an artist the gallery's collaborating with. "A thank you for pre-ordering his pieces." Her earlobes flushed an unnatural red, as glaring as the $2,300 bill from the Peninsula Hotel last week, the champagne suite where we'd spent our honeymoon. I watched the old scar on the inside of her wrist, the one she'd gotten chopping vegetables 6 years ago. Now that same hand caressed a piece of jewelry that wasn't from me, her fingertips tracing the curve of the butterfly's antennae like they were brushing a lover's lashes. I remembered last month in the garage, when half a concert ticket fell from her cashmere coat, pocket-dated for the evening of our wedding anniversary. "What time will you be back tonight?" I swallowed the whiskey, its burn spreading from my throat to my stomach. She grabbed her Hermes bag, her perfume mingling with an unfamiliar scent of cedarwood. "There's an Italian collector to discuss the new exhibit. Might be late." The foyer light caught the glow of her phone screen. A pink app icon flashed on her lock screen. It was that exclusive social app for high-end local matching, with a $12,000 annual fee I'd just seen on her subscription bill last week. I watched her slip into the black Audi. Its taillights carved two hazy lines through the fog. On the study surveillance screen, her Lexus SUV turned onto Highway 101. The GPS tracker showed her destination wasn't Sefmoma, but a waterfront apartment at Fisherman's Wharf. I waited 40 minutes in the downpour. My black trench coat clung to my back, the briny Thames of seawater mixing with rain as it seeped into my collar. In the distance, cable cars clanged. Emily's car was parked by Pier 3. The man in the passenger seat leaned over to unbuckle her seatbelt, his fingers grazing the inside of her wrist, a scarred spot. Lucas Moreno, Stanford's youngest assistant professor of philosophy. I had looked up his academic papers. Existentialism and Intimacy. Ironic, since last month he'd published Marriage as an Institution of Self-Deception in the New Yorker. Now his thumb stroked Emily's lower lip, and my wife, like a love-struck teenager, parted her lips, letting his tongue slide in. Their kiss lasted 17 seconds. I counted the flashes of the pier's lighthouse. By the 7th flash, Emily's hand was inside Lucas's shirt. Her wedding band glinted faintly under the streetlight custom-made for our 10th anniversary, engraved eternity inside. Now her ring finger hooked his belt buckle, her nails digging into his waist as if confirming some tangible truth. I first noticed the necklace on the first Tuesday of March. Emily stood by the foyer mirror, adjusting her earrings, the deep gray turtleneck slightly open at the collar, revealing a sliver of pale skin above her collarbone. A silver butterfly pendant rested in the hollow of her throat, its wing edges studded with tiny diamonds that flashed under the floor lamp like silent provocation. Where'd that come from? I pointed at her neck, my whiskey glass casting trembling shadows on the hardwood floor. Emily's hand flew to cover the penenta, movement so frantic it made the back of my neck tense. "Oh," she laughed, turning around, her hair brushing against the golden bottle of Chanel N5, a gift from an artist the gallery's collaborating with. "A thank you for pre-ordering his pieces." Her earlobes flushed an unnatural red, as glaring as the $2,300 bill from the Peninsula Hotel last week, the champagne suite where we'd spent our honeymoon. I watched the old scar on the inside of her wrist, the one she'd gotten chopping vegetables 6 years ago. Now that same hand caressed a piece of jewelry that wasn't from me, her fingertips tracing the curve of the butterfly's antennae like they were brushing a lover's lashes. I remembered last month in the garage, when half a concert ticket fell from her cashmere coat, pocket-dated for the evening of our wedding anniversary. The next morning, I stumbled upon the encrypted folder hidden in her cloud album. The password, our first date. The moment it unlocked, hundreds of photos flooded the screen. Emily, with Lucas. Images I never imagined seeing, intimate moments captured in places that felt like a violation on. The Persian rug I knew so well, tangled together in the shadows of an art museum storage room atop the hushed university library even. Chillingly, on the bay window ledge of our son's nursery. The raw intensity on their faces, a kind of abandon I'd never witnessed from her, stared back at me. But one photo stopped my breath cold. Emily sprawled across our marital bed. Lucas was there, too, a blur of motion behind her. She held up her phone, taking a selfie through red-rimmed eyes, her mouth stretched into a frenzied, almost unrecognizable grin. And in the stark background, impossible to ignore on the nightstand, sat our wedding photo. Its glass surface reflected the chaotic scene unfolding mere inches away, a distorted echo of her shuddering form against the image of our vows. I spent 3 agonizing hours meticulously cataloging the evidence. Dates, locations, even the unsettling presence of personal items I recognized in some photos. The most brutal discoveries were snippets of audio and intentionally captured fragments. In one chilling video clip, Emily's voice, breathless and urgent, cried out a name that wasn't mine, pleading for something I couldn't and didn't want to picture. The contrast was a knife to the heart. Just 3 months earlier, during a moment of intimacy with me, she had whispered words laced with discomfort, her voice tight, asking me to stop. Hearing those 2 moments, side by side, he painted a devastating picture of a passion and abandon she had never shown within our marriage. That's when the seed of revenge took root. I created a fake profile on that pink app, using corporate ladder climber photos and the username dforestier. Emily matched instantly. My verification message: "Saw you at SFMOM. Your profile explaining Modigliani reminded me of Moonlight Droning." She accepted within 24 minutes. The first month, I messaged her as Mr. Lin. She confessed her marriage felt suffocating, like silk pajamas tightening with each passing year, while Lucas was pure. Reckless energy, lightning tearing through clouds. She even shared photos meant for him. One showed her in my white shirt, looking defiantly at the camera, captioned, "Think he'd like this." The second month, I crossed a line. I placed a small camera beneath her yoga mat. What I saw shattered me. On the screen, she was biting down hard on a yoga block, tears streaming freely onto the mat below. All the while, I sat frozen in a corporate boardroom, the sterile hum of fluorescent lights around me, watching her silent anguish unfold in real time. My fist clenched so tight my knuckles turned white, the pressure building until I thought my bones might crack. The third month, I tailored her to Lucas's townhouse complete with rooftop garden and Emily's beloved blue irises. I watched her on the balcony in a sheer nightgown. The confrontation came one Friday dusk. I intercepted Emily in the garage as she parked. Around her neck hung a new necklace, a silver skull pendant Lucas had flaunted as a new collectible on Instagram last week. "Let's divorce." I kept my voice steady. Her pupils contracted. Her handbag hit the floor, spilling condoms, Durax ribbed, a brand we never used. "Jack, let me explain." She crouched to gather them, hair shielding her face. It was just a moment of weakness. A moment. I kicked a condom aside. The rubber packet skidded against the parking line. Fucking another man in our son's room was a moment. Filming porn with our wedding photo in the background was a moment. Her face blanched. Fingers clenched around the skull pendant. You followed me?" "No. I pulled a USB drive from my trench coat. You delivered the evidence yourself." It held every intimate video of her and Lucas, including the latest from the museum storage room 3 hours prior. Emily suddenly left a sound like a rusted knife scraping concrete, mingling with the roar of a distant Ducati. "You think this changes anything?" She stood, the skull pendant swinging violently. "Know what Lucas says about you? That you're a fool who can't even tell when his wife fakes an orgasm. Every time we were intimate, I had to moan for you on. You never once noticed." Her words were severed by screeching brakes. Lucas's red Ducati halted at the garage entrance, its headlights etching his clenched jawline. Emily ran to him, heels clattering like frantic Morse code. I stood frozen, watching them kiss under the harsh light, her tongue sliding into his mouth like savoring a long-awaited feast. Something inside me died completely then. My revenge launched at the height of the rainy season. I forged emails to Stanford accusing Lucas of plagiarizing a student's thesis, hired hackers to leak his nude chats with 6 female students to the entire department, and crowning touch used Emily's account to send his fiancée encrypted footage of their Golden Gate Bridge rendezvous, captioned "Your fiancé's philosophy." Within 2 weeks, Lucas lost his tenure. His fiancée publicly called off their engagement. His motorcycle was drenched in red paint, an academic fraud sign hanging from its handlebars. Emily, once the art gallery goddess, now received daily anonymous packages, gift boxes with dead rats, black slut t-shirts, razor blade laced hate mail. She began screaming through the night, claiming someone watched her through the windows. I held her trembling body, breathing in the cedarwood scent still clinging to her hair, my fingers tracing the birthmark on her lower back, now marred by a bruise from Lucas's grip. "Don't be afraid," I whispered into her ear. "This will pass." The final confrontation happened at Redwood National Park, as Mr. Lynn eyed Lord Lucas with the promise of discussing Emily's future. He arrived in a rumpled denim jacket, eyes hollow, right hand trembling, the telltale tremor of chronic alcoholism. "Who the hell are you?" He leaned against a sequoia trunk, cigarette ember glowing in the dusk. I didn't answer. Instead, I played the video of him and Emily in our son's room. His expression shifted from shock to rage, then twisted into a sneer. "So you're her pathetic husband." He flicked the cigarette. Sparks scattered on dead leaves. "Here's a secret. Every time I fucked her, I imagined you kneeling beside us." His words ended abruptly. As my hiking pole swung, a flicker of disbelief crossed his eyes. The sound of his skull hitting rock was muffled like a ripe watermelon splitting. I knelt beside him, watching blood seep from his hair into the ferns below. His pupils dilated, fixing on my face with a final, bitter irony. I staged the scene with my hiking pole arranging his body as if he'd fallen accidentally. Descending the mountain, the fog thickened. In the distance, ambulance sirens wailed like a distant warning. My phone vibrated. A message from Emily. "Where are you?" "Someone's in the house." "I'm scared." I stared at the screen and laughed aloud. The fog was too dense now. Even the nearest redwoods blurred like our marriage, forever veiled in haze, obscuring her true face. At Lucas's funeral, Emily wore a black veil. White chrysanthemums tied with silver ribbon filled her arms. Standing beside her, I felt her tremble, whether from grief or terror. I couldn't tell. As the pastor intoned, "May his soul rest in peace," she turned suddenly. Her veil slipped, revealing the bruise under her eye from last night's vasa-shattering rage. "You killed him, didn't you?" Her voice was fog-light, yet razor-sharp in my ear. I didn't deny it. Instead, I opened the velvet box. Inside lay the silver butterfly pendant. On the inner wing, minuscule initials, LM. I'd found it at Lucas's apartment, proof they'd commissioned matching jewelry 6 months prior. Emily's face contorted. She lunged for it, but I snapped the box shut. Know why I kept this? I breathed into her ear, catching the antiseptic scent she now used to scrub her skin daily. To remind me that every betrayal was, slowly cutting my throat with a dull blade. Now, it's my turn to make you understand that pain. The fog thickened on the drive home. Emily curled in the back seat like a wounded butterfly. I turned on the car stereo. Brahms, her once beloved composer. Piano notes wove with the rain, creating a sinister harmony inside the sealed cabin. In the rearview mirror, her hand slid toward her purse. I knew the Swiss Army knife was inside stolen from our kitchen last week, but I didn't care. Her daily vitamins now contained hallucinogens. By tonight, she'd see Lucas's ghost smiling at our bedroom door just as he had during their trysts. As we turned onto Highway 101, the fog abruptly lifted. In the distance, the Golden Gate Bridge gleamed coldly under the moon, an uncrossable chasm. I remembered our newlywed years, releasing white butterflies by that bridge. Their wings had shimmered like naive vows in the sunlight. Now, all those butterflies were dead, buried alongside our marriage in some fog-shrouded corner of the city. And I finally understood. In this game of betrayal and vengeance, there were no winners, only two souls lost in the mist, dragging each other deeper into darkness.